Welcome back to the podcast. No commercials, no censorship, no corporate media narratives, and always great guest interviews like Pennsylvania State Senator Dawn Keefer. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while.
It has been a long while, so thank you for having me back again.
It's a pleasure. I'm so glad you were elected senator. I was rooting for you, supporting you, as you know. And by the way, it's 9/11, 24 years ago today. It's hard to believe, isn't it?
It is really hard to believe because I know exactly, everybody knows where they were and what they were
Yeah,
doing. And it feels like it couldn't be 24 years ago because, I'm only 25 and
that's right. You were 1 year
right.
old at the time, just a toddler.
Yeah. Uh, so crazy.
What committees are you on now? Just to bring my listeners up to speed, because we have a lot of listeners left over from my radio days in PA. Bring us up
Okay.
to speed on your committees. Are you still are you still co-chair of the Freedom Caucus or no?
Yes, I am
Oh,
I'm still on
excellent.
the board. I'm the founding president of or chair of Freedom Caucus.
Right.
And then that cycles out every 2 years. So I'm
Okay.
still on
You
the
also
executive
said
board.
you almost said founding father,
Right.
and that would have been
Found,
that would have been a heck of a scandal if you
right.
said
Yeah.
that. I mean, is
Yeah.
leading
I,
conservative.
I can identify. Sometimes I feel like I'm the mom and the dad, but yes. Okay. Yeah. So still on that, just trying to, push, really we just bring courage, right? To stand up for everything that
Mhm.
all of our colleagues campaign on. And then, in the Senate, everyone's a chair. So I'm the chair of the local government committee. And the reason that matters in Pennsylvania is, as you know, Ken, 67 counties and 3,900 local municipalities. So those are all individual governments.
It's
Plus, you
amazing.
have all your school boards. Yeah. So that's why that matters because constitutionally in Pennsylvania, land use is local. That's driven
Isn't
at the
that
local
amazing?
level.
People
Yeah.
forget that sometimes. That's
Yeah.
why you got to get involved at the grassroots. That's something I learned uh, during my time working in Central PA. I used to be one of those the big ticket voters, the president, the
Yep. Yeah.
senator, that kind of stuff. And I didn't realize how much power a school board has or the county commissioner or the local sheriff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I say public enemy number one is the couch, right? It's the couch. Get up off the
Yeah,
couch and get
yeah.
involved, right? You get the government you deserve. And so I ran the first year that Trump ran. So in 2016, right? We were
I
out there
remember.
banging doors. Everyone was out like gangbusters in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania. And then in 2018, because we run every 2 years, this is when I was running for the House, and somebody was challenged me, came out of nowhere, spent $140,000 in a state house seat, and it was a ghost town. Nobody was out there, and we
Yeah.
had all these justices on the ticket, and we got our clocks cleaned. And then in 2020, right, everybody's out again like gangbusters, and they're mad because they lost. I said, you can't come out once every 4 years and get pissed off because you lose. We're getting our clocks cleaned in all those
Yep.
interim elections.
And
So,
that's where you really have the impact too with these judges, these
right. Well,
magistrates and judges. Well, we're learning. I mean, who knows that better than President Donald Trump? He had state and local magistrates messing with him for the last 10 years, the power they have.
yeah, absolutely, they do. And in Pennsylvania, we were letting that get taken away from us. So we're doing a vote no on the retention. We have retention votes coming up for Democrat Supreme Court justices, state justices.
Hmm.
Vote no on all of them. Vote no for retention. That's just a straight vote no on all of the Supreme Court justice retention votes.
And for people that are unclear on a retention vote, it just basically keeps you from staying there forever, right?
Right. So in Pennsylvania, our justices only have to run for retention. They don't have to run for reelection, our Supreme Court justices. So you just vote no. We're not retaining them.
Oh, it's that simple.
Yeah, it's that simple.
Well,
And they're
I
only
can
up
write
once every 10
no.
years. Yeah. It's just filling out that zero, that NO. No, that's it. So we're doing a huge campaign on that.
So before we go too much further, obviously what's dominating the news now is the murder of Charlie Kirk, which was just it was hard to process. He's a truth teller, young kid. I
Yeah.
mean, half my age, and
Yeah.
so good at connecting with young people and powerful Christian. ally and free speech, pro-gun, pro-life.
Pro
Uh,
courage, right? He was such a courageous man and
yeah,
respectful. So he was one of those, you had to respect that he would go into a lion's den, right? And
yeah,
he would take it, and he was very respectful. He
yes,
knew he knew his audience, much of it, his audience wasn't going to agree with him, and he sat there and he
hmm,
let each one could come up, ask their questions, he heard them out, and then gave his response,
yeah,
right? And disagreeing with someone doesn't make you, a bad person, right? We can disagree. And I thought he had those great dialogues. And for this
yes,
to happen, and then for some of our liberal media friends to be responding the way they are, because and declaring his platform, as a,
yeah,
this is hate or evil. No, he has a different view. And
hmm.
how does that translate? Almost one went almost as far as saying deserving, right? In MS,
Oh,
I
that's
think the or
not,
no, it was
yeah,
the one CNN reporter. It's outrageous. It is
not
absolutely
only in the
disgusting.
media, but you see the garbage. I have to swim in this because now that I'm predominantly a podcaster, although I do some guest hosting from time to time around the country on radio, but predominantly a podcaster. So I have to swim in this sewer of people hiding behind their keyboard.
Right,
And
right.
the things the especially the young women, which really blew me away, the filth and the hate that had come out of their mouth in the last 24 hours. The young leftist women saying just the most vile things about him and his wife and him getting murdered. And
I
wow,
can't.
how did we get to
Yeah,
this point? And I thought some of them are old enough to vote, but some of them aren't even, because he resonated with young people.
yeah.
I never had the pleasure of meeting him, but I followed him and listened to him. He represented young conservatives the way we would want to be represented. He was not out there saying, "I'll kick your ass." He was pro gun without coming across like, he didn't show up with an AR-15. Not that
Right.
that's wrong, but you know what I mean.
That's
In
not how
other
he did
words,
it, right? Right. He
yeah,
used words, and yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And I'll tell you, one of my young supporters, Liz Gallo, she did work with him. Like, he was in Pennsylvania a lot, working with the voter registration and a lot of drives with
yes,
the PA Chase and CAP, and so he was very involved. And she had the opportunity to be on his show and work with him a couple times. And she's just devastated. I mean, that his following is devastated, and it breaks my heart for his family. I can't even fathom what his wife and children could possibly be going through. And then to have, I honestly can. I have not listened to any of the garbage. I have not turned on too much of social media beyond
hmm,
like just my close, following stuff, because I can't weed through that. It's hard
yeah.
enough all by itself than to listen to that vile.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. It is. And, even prepping for the show today, I'm still shocked at how vicious. And again, people like to say, well, it's the same on both sides. Not really. I mean, the conservatives, there are some asshats, for lack of a better term. I think
sure.
that's a political term on the right, but that dominates the left. The left they're not, they're wrapped up in payback and vengeance and
Yeah.
poking you in the eye and kicking you when you're down. And it's like, what did he ever do other than debate? That's all he did. He was a debater. I mean,
Right.
he would show up and he would leave the campus and you would interview people and some people would say, he's a really cool guy. I never, I heard so many horrible things about him and we still disagree on certain points, but what a cool guy. And
Yeah.
that's how you want to make your way into the world, trying to, if you want to bring people to your ideology or to your party, you want to do it that way. I mean,
Right.
Rush did that. People would meet Rush Limbaugh and they would say, "Oh my gosh, he's so different than what MSNBC says about him."
Right,
You know?
right. And Ken, that's exactly. But when you have your media, my local media here in York, right, name
Oh
calling,
yeah.
right? I mean, when they write articles about us, it's not
Yep.
just that, hey, I had this bill that they disagree with, or this policy idea that they're vehemently against. No, no, I'm a misogynist. I'm a woman hater. I am, like, it's name calling. It's name calling, and it's like
You know,
to make you less than human, right? And then it helps. these degenerates to perpetrate these acts. And it has to stop. We can disagree and we can be civil about it. It
They
doesn't have
call
to
you a
be.
woman hater?
Yeah, I'm a woman hater because I'm trying to protect women in sports. Right.
Oh,
So
I see.
I'm intolerant. I'm a misogynist. I'm like, so I hate myself. Okay. All right.
Hmm.
I'm just, yeah, yeah,
You didn't, let me tell, did you marry a man?
did.
Oh,
I
God.
did.
What were
Yes.
you thinking?
And I
Oh,
know,
it's
and
the
had
21st
babies.
century.
I know, and had babies. It's crazy. How about that? Um,
I want to point out, let's talk because there's a lot of people that don't know the Wonder Woman story, the Wonder Woman
okay.
plaque. This
Yeah.
this this came from
And
someone else. This is not some and the cup. This came from someone else. This is not something that Dawn put up herself, Senator
no,
Keefer. This is something when Dawn used to when she was running and when she came on our show, and then when you got in the assembly as a representative, I would I would call you a pit bull, not in a mean way. You would be a female. I mean,
no. That's what a
not in a
lot of
mean
my
way.
campaign
But
staffers call me.
and I thought, wow, this new representative, this Kiefer woman, is she's like Wonder Woman. And then I started to play the Wonder Woman theme song every time you came on, and then your friends and family and supporters started to get you a whole bunch of Wonder Woman swag.
Yeah.
So, and I can't play it on the podcast because of copyright laws. So
Well,
that's why you
yeah.
didn't
I was
hear
gonna
it. So if you were expecting it, sorry.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, and even my signs, there was a kind of a W. It wasn't quite the Wonder Woman W, but and some people said, "Are you allowed to use that W?" I said, "It's just a W, right? Make of it what you will."
So let's get back to the battle with progressives in Pennsylvania is one of the most animated. It's really a tough battle. And the thing, I mean, I have so many things I don't like about Governor Shapiro, and I won't bore you with that list. But he is a chameleon, and he's very snake-like.
Hmm.
And I think it's because of his. And Governor Wolf was like this too, right? Very diminutive, right? Very kind of calm and so a conservative could come in and say, we need to protect these women, and they go, look, so he's so angry, blah 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 blah, and then a Josh Shapiro could just say, we're doing this for the children, and then all of a sudden you've got drag queen libraries, but because he's so calm and nice.
Right.
So cut through the BS for us. What's going on with Shapiro now?
Well, okay, 26 PR people. 26 PR people. Okay. So that's
He
why you
has
see,
he has
yes,
26. I thought you were talking about like 2026 election.
no,
When you
no,
first said 26, I thought you were talking.
26 PR people. So that's why Josh Shapiro drank his coffee today. It's amazing, right? And didn't
Wow,
spill
yeah.
any. I mean, there's a press release about you name it. He's got it social or, social media post about whatever it is.
Look, he likes
Um,
puppies.
yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
God, I like puppies.
Right. And then, the irony is in the Senate, we're in this budget stalemate. But the Senate in August, we sent over a level funded budget and a path for SEPTA, funding path for SEPTA with some accountability measures in place. And they continue to claim, oh, the Senate needs to come back and get a budget done. No, we sent you a budget, right? Do it, like pass it. But they, of course, want to spend more money. Can't justify what they have spent, mismanaged what they have. We're growing older, smaller, and poorer every single day in Pennsylvania. But hey, let's double down and fleece the taxpayers a little bit more. And that's been the trend year over year. Since I got here, we had Wolf as a governor and then Shapiro. And I got here, our budget was like $32 billion. And the budget, and that was in 2017. And the budget that Shapiro just proposed this past February was all but $52 billion in the
Wow.
same time that our population has shrunk, our academic standards are deplorable, right? Our biggest growing population are retirees.
Hmm.
Our economy is struggling, and our young talent is fleeing. right? Those that are supposed to be driving our economy are leaving this Commonwealth. And what are we going to do? We're going to spend more, dole out more corporate welfare, get everybody hooked on welfare that can possibly be hooked on. We have the most generous Medicaid benefits in the entire Northeast, right? We beat New Jersey. We beat Massachusetts, New
Hmm.
York. It's ridiculous.
And what do you think as far as the Freedom Caucus? Is it growing? Are people growing? You don't have to, I know this is a growing thing. Explain what the State Freedom Caucus is or what you call it, and
Sure.
is it growing to fight the battle?
So the Freedom Caucus was founded. We have two things we do, right? It's anything that tries to limit personal freedom,
Hmm.
right? So we will fight for liberty, right? And we will, and anything more for free market, right? So anything that grows government or steals personal freedoms. When you grow government, that stifles the free market. So we want limited government, personal freedoms. Those are the two things. And we're not just going to fight for and against, different efforts that compromise those, but we're going to be loud about it. We're going to inform our constituents and the Commonwealth. We're going to say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's the vote that's going up, because a lot of this stuff that happens. It's not that it isn't, published or it's not. There's not some kind of video on it, but kind of goes under the radar. The media doesn't cover it. It's
Hmm.
a nothing burger. Well, it's not a nothing burger. And so we're letting constituents know, hey, this vote's getting ready to take place. And so when you're hampering the labor market, I think constituents need to know about it. Everybody here's a perfect example, Kent. Everybody says in Pennsylvania, right? We are our tech, right? Our skilled
Yes.
labor force, right? We need to invest in that. So, college isn't the only path in our workforce development. Everybody says, oh, we got to build our workforce and strengthen it. But in Pennsylvania, if you want to do an apprenticeship with an independent, non-union electrician or a plumber, or I guess plumbers aren't in it, but our trades, right, that are
Hmm.
non-union, in order to be an apprentice, you have to have four journeymen to that one apprentice. A union can have whatever they want, whatever they negotiate in the collective bargaining agreements
For journeymen.
to one apprentice. So if you are let's just say you have an electrical contracting business and you have a merit program, it's called,
Hmm.
um, and you have 20 employees, right? How are you getting through an apprentice?
Oh my goodness.
How are you building your workforce? It's just crazy. And so, I have a bill. It's just really simple. All as it says Barb Gleim has it in the House, and I have it in the Senate. It just
Hmm.
says whatever the union has, we have, right? So if it's about safety, because we all follow the same OSHA standards, they all are regulated the same, sort,
Right.
and they all have the same academic, the curriculums. So if electricians or two journeymen to one apprentice for electricians, well, then it should be that way for everybody, right? If it's 1 to 1, let's do 1 to 1. Whatever it is been determined to be safe, right, for the labor or the unions, then it should
Hmm.
be safe for all because we are all following the same guidelines and rules. We could build Pennsylvania's workforce, and instead we don't. And so there's limited apprenticeship opportunities for the non-unions. And then where I'm located, South Central Pennsylvania, they just jump across the line to Maryland.
Hmm.
It's pretty sad when Maryland's eating our lunch. Come on.
And then Maryland gets to brag about it. They get to
Yeah,
use it as a promotional marketing tool. People are
yeah,
coming even from the states right next to us.
yeah,
This is the same game they play with education, though.
yeah.
It's one way for public school, it's another way for a charter school, it's another way for a private school. And this is just one more way that the government locks in with giant control driven entities like unions and lobbyists and everything from textbook makers to the people that put drinking fountains in schools. They've all
Okay.
got this, yeah, they've got this
Yeah,
game going on. And then when someone walks in and says, like you just said, I mean, I think about my dad, who was a painting contractor all of his life, and now my parents are in their 80s, and I just think about what I learned and what some of the young guys that learned from him when they were 20 or 22 or 27 or whatever, the skills they got just from being in his orbit with construction and painting. But he would have to pony up three more people, is what you're saying, to meet that
to,
ratio.
yeah, to do a one to
See, that's
one,
absurd.
things that
That's
are they
totally
deem
absurd.
not safe. Yeah, things they deem not safe, and it's arbitrary, and so it just gives the Bureau of Labor and Industry, right, one more hook where they can come in and harass these workers. It's really crazy what we're doing, and we're our own demise in government. And so, in that, that should be a nonpartisan issue. But I can't get Republicans on board even with
Oh,
that. And or one that in Pennsylvania they make you, if you're a contractor, you have to be registered with the Attorney General's office to make sure you're not scamming grandma, essentially, right? So everybody is
I just find that funny because I
isn't
look
that
back at
hilarious?
the history of the Attorney General's office in Pennsylvania, and some of them went to prison.
There you go. So you have to be registered with the Attorney General's office to be a contractor. All right. So that says you're an independent contractor. But
Okay.
the but labor and industry will still come out and harass these contractors who subcontract, right? So let's just say I have a drywall. He doesn't paint, right? He doesn't do electrical, so he'll sub that out. He will make that general contractor jump through hoops to prove that every one of those subcontractors were not
Mhm.
employees. Right. Well, if they're already registered with the Attorney General, that should be prima facie, and you should just get off their backs. This is nonsense. Some simple things that we could do to really strengthen our workforce and
Right.
unleash. I mean, we have some great schools. We have some great skills and training
Yes.
programs here. We really do have a lot, but we train them, and then they leave, right?
Yep.
Graduation rates. We should have zero dropout rates, right? You could connect these students to programs that they see. Hey, oh, this makes it relative, right? Get them an
Yep.
apprenticeship program and let them excel, right? We are our own demise.
And I think, you look at this regulation, it's such a money grift. It's such a money maker.
Right.
And if you're focused on generating revenue over developing young people, and I meet a lot of young people as a speaker, and as I get old and they get younger, there's a good crop of young people out there now because there's been so much just in the last 10 years in the state and in the country. There's an awakening happening in America. People are starting to look at their government in a different way and look at what's happening globally in a different way. Now is the time when these young people are not as indoctrinated as they used to be and say, "Hey, I mean, those are some of the biggest wake up calls." I look at, I know you have kids, and like my two sons now in their 20s, the biggest wake up call for them was when they made that transition. They went from high school right into the workforce.
Mhm.
And every day they get more conservative because they see their paycheck
Right.
and they they get the car registration and the insurance and the phone bill and the why do I have to pay this for on the apartment because one of them lives on his own. He's like, and I said, well, this is what this is what your dad has been bitching about for the last 30, 40 years, that it's not fair to the working person. And that brings me to the next item. What do you make of all this illegal foreign national, the truckers, and you have a front row seat to what's happening with illegal immigration in this state. And I know Josh Shapiro's not a big supporter of getting rid of illegal foreign nationals and moving them out of our state. And our state's always been kind of a safe zone. I remember when I first started, when I first met you, probably, let me see, yeah, more than 10 years ago. They were, I think that was under Obama, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were flying people in. They were flying illegals into Harrisburg Airport. Remember that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That was probably about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, and yeah, we were dealing with that. Wolf was doing it. It was some
Yeah,
kind of
Wolf was
program that
doing
he
it
had.
then. Yeah.
Wolf was doing it, and they just had another one where we sponsored a whole group of Nepali citizens from that had been refugees or something. And how's Nepali a refugee? First of all,
Yeah, I don't know
they were
what's going
in
on.
Tennessee, relocated and subsidized here, and they're a huge population, non-citizen Nepali. I'm not talking about individuals that are coming in
Hmm.
our path to citizenship. I'm talking about non-citizens over here being subsidized and being eligible for state services. Again, I told you we have the most generous Medicaid benefits on the entire East Coast. It's collapsing upon itself just because of the way it's growing. It was $2 billion overspend last year, $2 billion, right?
But it gets the
We
votes.
and we can't afford to take care for every single one of those individuals, right, that are sucking off that system, that are,
Hmm.
working and are able-bodied, no dependents, right? That takes from our most vulnerable, somebody that
Yes.
truly needs those services. Now you add illegals, non-citizens
Yes.
on there. It's ridiculous. And we have been plenty of paths to, working this Commonwealth, right? We have the H-2A visas, and we have different work visas and academic visas. We have a wealth of paths that are here. So we need to nip all of the illegal in the bud, right?
Mhm.
And figure out where that is. But they have infiltrated various areas where they've just dropped um, groups into different communities. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, where did these individuals come from? How do we
Right.
have this housing shortage? How do we have, when they're tapping into resources and you're like, wait a minute, but how'd this happen? I think there's a legitimate questions to ask. And, again, it attacks our sovereignty.
This is where the media fails. Well, they fail on so many levels, but people are shocked when they hear this, and that's why it sometimes takes people years to get, quote unquote, to get with the program. Like if you look at cities like Chicago, you look at states like Illinois, what's happening there, and in New York. And last week I did a story on Nebraska, and they're doing a big thing with Kenyans, Kenyan refugees, and
Right. Do they share our values? And this is what's
yeah,
happening. So if it's a refugee, right? Okay, it's Kenyan refugee. Okay. Do they share our values? Are they assimilating? They are not,
are they
right? And then,
qualified
right.
to work?
And
Can they
so,
speak the language even?
and here's a perfect example. One of our dear friends, their daughter got into a fashion design school in Italy. In
Oh my
order for
gosh.
her to go to that school, okay,
Yeah.
so she had a student visa to go over there. It
Okay.
was, I believe it was a 6-month program, and then
Mhm.
you had 30 days to demonstrate a job or get out. And not only that, even to go, she had to provide
Wow.
like some kind of apostille demonstrating that she had health insurance coverage for the entire duration, had to get a statement from her insurance company. It was really difficult for her to get into, so they got all that criteria in place, and to stay, like she's like, she was working so hard to find a job,
Hmm.
and she did not, and so she had to come back. She wanted to go to
Wow.
Japan. You can't get into Japan unless you speak fluent Japanese, and
Isn't that
it
amazing? Nobody talks about that. And then
right.
if you or I say, these people should speak English, oh my God, that's so racist. A third of the world is so racist, it would shock people.
Yeah, and I'm not saying tit for tat, but again, when we are
Oh, I
talking about
am.
resources here, and we're trying to why would we take on more of a burden? Where you
Yep.
have legitimate cases of refugees, okay, but
Yes.
when did Indian states become
Mhm.
refugees?
Well, it's
I'm
just
sorry.
it's another category to it's an emotional, again, it's a propaganda word game.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you let a refugee in? I mean, look at how tough they have it. Well, why wouldn't you help a an 80-year-old veteran sleeping on a grate in Chicago that,
Thank you.
fought in the Korean War? He had it tough
Yeah.
too. Why don't we put him first? Oh, America first. That's racist. I want to go back to the Italian designer friend of yours.
Yeah.
You know, she could have just snuck in and married an Italian guy, and that would have been the end of it. People
But
do that they
yeah,
do that in El Paso, Texas every day. She could have
but
had a
yeah, this
boom.
sneak in
Citizen.
first. How are you gonna sneak in?
Well, that's
Right.
right. I forget
Yeah.
how easy it is to I mean, to sneak in to
Yeah.
America.
So
That
yeah,
I
so she
People
yeah,
forget
so
about that. They don't
and then
realize that
even the visas, they're giving out the visas like candy. And so first it was like, well, we had
we
to
are
have all,
giving out. Yeah.
we are the United States is.
Yeah.
So first it was right, well, we can't find Americans that will pick lettuce or fruit or whatever it is, right? And we can't find Americans, and then then it was we can't find anybody to code. I was like, really? We can't find people to code. So that's been uh, legitimizing all of the visas from India. And
Hmm.
now it's we can't find anybody who wants to be a nurse or this. So they're allowing all these
Oh
visas, these
yeah.
medical
That's
visas.
always been
And
the
so there's
excuse.
these huge corporations are bringing in, are buying for these visas. It's a whole racket in India, right? That they have, like, you have to go to the mob guy at the top to, get in
Oh,
line
I
for
know.
these visas. They
People don't
sell them.
realize, even though India is an ally, they're among the worst at
Yeah.
playing our system.
Yep. Yep.
And we're afraid to
So,
say all this stuff that these different countries know that they, because of their relationship with us, like what you said, and you reminded me that Japan, it is so hard to get into Japan. And in fact, a friend of mine commutes to different countries around the world periodically, and he said when you're in a crowd in Japan and you're like a 6 foot white man, you're like people could see you for miles because you're the only American that's even
yes.
allowed in that neighborhood.
Well, and they are brazenly racist, right? So they won't let you. It was interesting. My son was talking to a couple Japanese citizens, and I forget what he was in, and this one guy was black, and he goes, "Oh yeah," he goes, "I get denied entry into a bar." He goes, "And I am a Japanese citizen." So they're like,
Oh
"Nope, you're not coming
wow.
in." Yes,
Wow.
right? Because it absolutely profile. Like, I'm telling
Oh
Keefer's
yeah,
not
they're
getting in, right?
the
Unless I'm on some kind of special
and the
ambassador's trip or something.
profiling is like in the Middle East, the Middle Eastern countries profile other Middle Eastern countries. They
Yeah.
profile on religion all over the Middle
Oh,
East,
absolutely.
all
Absolutely.
over the Middle East. And look at
But
how
if,
women are treated. And then
yeah,
you look at places like the UK, how they've pretty much caved in. They're never going to get their country back because they went so woke and so over the top. And if you told me 50 years ago, the mayor of London's going to be Muslim, what?
right. Yeah. Well, and then, and again, I go back, that's our values, right? So
Yep.
as we are vetting individuals to come in to our nation, right? Values should matter, right? That's what our country was founded upon, a core set of values. And you allow in groups, right, whose values are antithetical to us, and undermine, not just, they completely undermine us. So,
Yeah.
communities that are trying to uh, impl- um, get Sharia law in place, right?
Yes.
Or to follow that. I'm like, that can't be, right? Like, that's not even constitutional, right? But they're allowing different communities to operate with under. No, you can't operate with under. We have one constitution, right? One national constitution. That's it. That's the law.
Another city in Michigan. Yesterday, I confirmed it on the police patch. It's in Arabic. It's the police department, and it
Wow.
says the whatever police department, Michigan, and then all the content on the patch, like whatever the saying, it's all in Arabic because they're the majority. And see,
Yeah.
this is why I keep explaining to people, and I want to go back to Republicans in a minute because I think Republicans are some of the biggest roadblockers right now in current administration, not only in
Yeah.
Pennsylvania but across the country. People always they forget that some of President Trump's biggest enemies in Washington are Republican, and I watched for years, and it continues how Republicans keep stabbing people like you in the back because of their own, whatever. And they're always throwing this democracy thing around, and we're not a democracy. We're a republic. We
Hmm.
don't want to be a democracy. We don't want to see what's happening. We don't want happening what is happening all over Europe. That, well, there's 84 trillion people from this country, so I guess we're not our country anymore. That's it doesn't
Not
work like
only
a
that,
democracy. It's a
yeah,
republic.
yeah, and that's what we say. That's what well, they're the majority, so now you have to say this is where, that's what the values. No, that's not what the values are.
Exactly.
That's not what we were established. And so standing up and defending them, right, is what you have to do. But that takes courage, Ken. That takes courage. And so instead of, growing a backbone and being tough on these issues, right, we cave and say, oh, don't be so mean. Oh, don't be so hateful. And they
Hmm.
adopt their rhetoric, right? And not only that, they just take their talking points, or they have no talking points. So they'll say, no, I'm not hateful, right? Like,
Yeah.
you are hateful and intolerant. I'm not hateful and intolerant,
Yeah.
right?
The the Freedom Caucus, what are the two, like one or two of the biggest issues right now that really impact Pennsylvanians that they don't know about? Because I notice all the time, like I'll go on your website and I'll see something on there and I'll go, wow, the news doesn't even talk about that. and it's a big
Yeah.
deal. And that's another part of this methodology that the left uses. They pretty much own 90% of the media, both
Yep.
literally and, virtually they own it. And
Right.
so you can have the greatest thing, idea, policy. You can have a big win. No one hears about it. You can have a great opportunity for Pennsylvanians. No one hears about it. But if you trip and spill coffee on yourself, it's going to be a meme.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say that one of the biggest things that we've been working on is energy. And how do we unleash what we have, Pennsylvania's potential? So we haven't brought on any new generation in Pennsylvania since 2019. 2019, no new generation onto the grid.
Really?
Nope. And because of Reggie, right? So they don't the predictability is not there, so nobody's going to drill. And it's under the Shapiro administration, Wolf administrations. It's just been so challenging permit
Hmm.
wise, and the lawsuits, and then the Reggie on top of it. Like, what's that? It's unpredictable what we're going to be looking at price wise. So it's been stagnant. As far as new energy on the grid. In Pennsylvania, we produce 60% more energy than we consume. Then you drop down to the south of us, Maryland. Maryland consumes 40% more than they produce. And not only that, they just took
Wow.
two base load energy plants off the grid. And they're working on a third. So that
Who is
puts
this now?
pressure.
Maryland or
Maryland.
Pennsylvania? Okay.
Maryland's
So they
taken two
took
off the grid.
they
So
took two off the grid, but they're underproducing. They can't give enough energy
right.
to their population. See,
And
this is
so
the deal with Democrats. I don't get it.
right? And we're all part of what's called the PJM, right? Which is this regional gas. Basically, they manage not gas. They manage all the energy, right? So it puts it all into the grid that we have. So
Mhm.
Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, um, and Virginia's in there. So we're all putting energy in the grid, right? And then it gets pushed out, right? So while
Like communism,
right, right,
right?
and so
It's like a
and
collective.
yes, and
Okay.
then what Maryland is doing. So while Maryland's taking their energy power plants down, right? They
Hmm.
keep developing, they keep making, growing all these communities and developing. They're pushing up into Pennsylvania, and they want to take an area like we had conserved and preserved called Cuffs Run in Maryland, and they wanted to flood over 500 acres of farmland and put in this hydro plant to power this community on off-peak hours, right? When they have these energy surges, they want to be able to power them. So we're going to take from Pennsylvania, and how that decision is made is in a complete silo by FERC. Whether the project is worthy or deserves, to move forward is determined by FERC. It's not that, hey, we have these
So let's
Chesapeake
go
Bay
back to
standards.
when you said Reggie, what were you referring to?
Oh, RGD is the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. So this
Okay,
was
because so
something that Wolf entered Pennsylvania into. He signed us up for, and
the
it's being
regional
challenged.
gas, what?
Greenhouse Gas Initiative.
Oh my
Greenhouse
God,
Gas
it's
Initiative.
definitely created by a gas bag politician. Unbelievable. I was wondering
It
what Reggie was, and then FERC. What is FERC?
is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
Got it. Okay. I didn't
So,
know there was that
yeah,
gas green. See, the green garbage is, and it's so unfair because we get hit with prices that we shouldn't, and we have a surplus of
right.
energy. And our
Yeah.
politicians say, hey, you know what? There's got to be a way that we, the politicians, can make money off this.
Well, and Ken, what that regional greenhouse gas initiative does, it's basically it's carbon capture, right? It's selling carbon credits, and so
Oh,
you have
yes, the
that's all that
carbon
is. It's
fantasy.
all yeah, it's all this carbon trading and
Let me check my
selling
carbon
credits.
footprint. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's a 12.
Okay. Yeah. So that's
Unbelievable.
that's what that is, and it's unpredictable, right? Because we make up the rules as we go, and then how much is that going to cost these our producers? And again, we just go back to it. It hits us in the wallet. It hits ratepayers in the wallet because it's
Hmm.
basic economics, right? Supply and demand, and there is more demand than there is supply because we're taking power off the grid, base load power off the grid, and
Hmm.
we have higher demands. And so another thing we're dealing with in Pennsylvania is data centers. right? Which could possibly be a boon if it's a good fit for in the
If
area that it's
the
in.
question
If,
is
right?
if, because first of all, that's going to be a big energy suck
That's what I'm saying. We need
and
the
it's going to
infrastructure.
kill jobs. In fact, just had a survey out of Wall Street Journal yesterday or the day before. Um, all these all the tech heads that are graduating with good degrees and they all thought they were going to walk into these different jobs. They're saying, up, we don't need it anymore. We got AI. We just got rid of 13 people in that department. We have a computer that does it.
Well, they may have a computer that does it, but what you will find is interesting. So let's say you put something in Grok or, Chat GPT, and you say,
Hmm.
hey, tell me, all the case law and blah, blah, blah. We have found on many occasions, Chat GPT makes up lawsuits that don't exist,
So it's like a
including
politician.
yeah, including opinions. And so you have to, if you don't have somebody that's a critical thinker and like looks through and says, hey, there is no, Bradley versus Thomas from 1967. That case
Whoa.
doesn't exist. You have to know your law. So, and you're
Wow,
finding more of that
that's good to know.
throughout. So it's still going to require critical thinking. Yeah, maybe will it get rid of some of the writers and some things like that?
Hmm.
Sure, but there's still some other places, and that's a great thing about our country, Ken. We innovate, right? There's the industrial
Yeah.
revolution, right? Where
Oh yeah.
where you the printing press, things that have gained efficiencies and really driven our economy, and AI will too, right? It's figuring out how we'll manage it, how it will fit, how we
Well,
can build
whoever
off of it.
controls it, you just have to hope with AI, robotics, it's just like platforms. We have to
Yeah.
hope and pray that people of ethics and integrity and that love and respect our Constitution are running it because it's just like Dr. Evil. If Dr. Evil has AI,
hmm
then you're going to get all the wrong case law. And AI is going to say that, Senator Don Keefer is this and this and this, and it's crap. Or don't listen to Ken Matthews on this because it's, you see, whoever's controlling all this chat GP and great example of that would be factcheck.org and Google search and all
Yeah,
that
yeah. I
garbage.
was gonna say we have an extent of it now, but
Yes.
most of you know, but we're also taught, right, that here's how you consume your information, right? So as soon
Yes.
as my husband was listening to this thing the other night, he's like, "Oh my goodness!" And I can't even recall what it was, but it was something about what was happening in the FBI and this whole thing. I said, "I don't believe it. I think that is AI generated. I don't think any of that's true." And I said, "And I don't have time to look at this right now." And he goes, "No, listen." I was like, "I don't have time to listen to it, but I don't think it's true." And then he stopped what he was doing and then just did his own search. So he's like, "Oh
Right.
my gosh, they completely fabricated it, right?" And that's happening all over. My colleague Jared Coleman, who's a senator and he's a pilot, the Dems did a hit piece on him and had him in a pilot's uniform. He goes, "That's not even my uniform. I fly for JetBlue, and our uniforms aren't that color. Like it looks
Oh,
idiotic,
wow.
right?" I mean, or they
It's
had the wrong
scary though.
heads. Yeah,
It's
they put
scary.
the
It's
wrong head.
very,
Or yeah,
yeah,
yep.
it's very 1984. It's, you know, um, Wag the Dog. It's very, I think it reminds me of the Truman Show
It does,
where,
right? And
where,
I'm sure, but
yeah.
but Ken, think about it. Our grandparents, like my grandmother, passed. My last one passed. She's this year. She was 93, I believe.
Hmm.
And think of her with the cell phone, right? That had to be very Truman Show, like for
Oh,
her,
wow.
right? That you could
Yep.
do, right? Or just my other old Southern grandmother who passed in 17. Like she was still shocked by the fact that we bought water, that we paid for water and
Oh,
water.
yeah.
She was a depression baby, but just
Yeah.
to see how things have evolved, I mean, I think that's what we're witnessing now. It was like them then, and I think we'll always have that. And there's always got to be that level of ethics, right, and
Hmm.
critical
Hmm.
thinking, and that's not being replaced by AI. You can be afraid of AI. I don't completely understand how all of it works, right? But I have a good understanding of where I stand and like how it can be applied, and and
Right.
and you'll have those individuals, and that's what we're going to have to continue to do, just like that. The fact check nonsense. It's a joke. I think
Yeah.
most people, will say, "Oh yeah, that's a joke."
Well, I don't
Um,
think AI ever can adequately, it will never be able to replace the human mind because the human mind is still the largest
Right.
processing platform on earth. And people, we've been potty trained to think not. We've been potty trained to think, well, we have to get rid of all the air traffic controllers because there was an accident. No, there was an
Right.
accident probably because there was poor management. Like every most F ups in most companies and in most supply chains and most leadership dimensions are human error. So we'll fix that and the rest of
Yes.
the humans will be just fine.
And understand somebody's feeding that information in,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So you have that. I mean, you have to. All of that plays into it. So it's not just, oh, that this big technology is taking over. It's going to be that um, uh, somebody's feeding that data. Somebody's feeding that information in
Hmm.
there. Who is it? Who's feeding that information? And so that's what we got to get at.
I mean, someone's programming the robot. A
Right.
human is programming the robot.
Yep.
So what's a big uh-oh, did you just flip your screen? Uh-oh,
There we
what
go.
happened there?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're there. You're there.
Somebody tried to tap in call.
Oh,
Sorry
that's
about
right.
that.
I forget that tap and call thing. So there's a
Yeah.
great example. Let's say you're flying your plane on
Mm-hmm.
your iPhone and your kid calls. You see, you gotta
Oopsie. Hey, all passengers, please buckle your seatbelts.
there you go. What is
The
your biggest
turbulence.
what's the biggest uh issue now that you're concerned about as a member of the Freedom Caucus that Pennsylvanians need to know about, that you're concerned, like, you really need to wake up to this or get involved in this because it may slip through the cracks?
Yeah, and Ken and I always just go back to the budget. And I know it is not sexy. It is not like,
I
oh,
know.
great. And you start talking numbers, people glaze over. But at the end of the day, I always say this: when government spends more,
Hmm.
you pay more.
Yep.
Right? That drives inflation. So when you can't afford your groceries, you
Right.
can't afford your electric bill, which mine is doubled, right? And you come to the government, we're not the solution, right? We never solve anything effectively or nor efficiently. So to
Hmm.
come for us is laughable. But then, and our solution is okay. Well, let's dole out more money. Let's help this person. That costs everybody else more. And like I said, our budget is they proposed a $52 billion budget. I'm going to guess our side concedes to like all but a $50 billion budget, which is over a $2 billion increase. It's not sustainable. Our What's going to happen is we're going to lose more of our talent. They're going to go elsewhere because they can't afford housing, and I can get
Hmm.
it cheaper in Tennessee. Well, even Maryland and West Virginia are eating our lunch. And so that's if we don't get our budget under control, we will see our economy continue to shrink. I mean, we are going to, it'll be a mass exodus, and you cannot run a state or an economy on retayees. And that's all you're going to have left in Pennsylvania,
That's a great
right?
point.
You think, it's just the budget, the money. Even my colleagues are like, it's the budget. We have to spend it. There's nothing we can do about it. Yes, there is.
And that's a
There
man that you were impersonating.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. It is just egregious. It is egregious how
Yeah.
much we spend. I mean, it's SEPTA. Everybody's probably heard of the SEPTA, train wreck that we have. And I
Yes.
don't mean that metaphorically, but SEPTA. There's a special dedicated fund called the
Hmm.
Public Transportation Trust Fund, dedicated to mass transit. And they are sitting on $1.4 billion in their savings account that has had zero withdrawals since 2017. Zero.
Wow.
And in 2017, they were 280 million. That's grown to $1.4 billion savings account. So think it's your savings, and you say to my husband finds the money, right? And he's like, baby, we need a new roof. Can I pull money out? No, 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 no. We're going to Alaska. And then I need those Louboutin shoes. And then, I have this is for my facelift. And then this is right. But the roof is coming off, baby. Oh, no, 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 no. Alaska. We're going to Alaska. Remember? And that's what they're doing with this fund. Drive
Right.
these dollars out. They're for mass transit. Put some accountability measures in there and drive these dollars out. But it's asinine that the other side will look at it and be like, oh my gosh, we won't get the projects done. Really? It's been sitting there since 2017 and you haven't pulled a cent out.
Well, you
Enough.
look at California's high-speed rail project. That's just a giant money washing machine,
Yeah.
and it's nothing.
Well,
It's
I'll
not. It
say
doesn't
this.
even exist.
Yeah, we need mass transit, right? We need a mass transit, and I will say, that's one of those often a money losing deal, right? It's tough to
Yep.
make that even a wash. It's always going to require some a budget allocation that's there. I'm not saying that, but it's poor, is so mismanaged, it's so
Hmm.
poorly managed. Since they're their own worst enemy as far as revenues and management goes. So put some accountability measures in place, and then make sure that you're driving these dollars out, and then we have some kind of strings we can pull. But we're the second. We fund them at a level. We're number two in the nation as far as how we fund mass transit. Number two in the
Really?
nation. Something like
Really?
54% of their budget. 54% of their budget. They can't even sustain, and what they're contributing counties, their
Hmm.
taller counties that rely on this transportation, what their contributions are laughable, laughable in comparison. So why are we doing this?
It's interesting because I'm my underground bunker now is about an hour northwest of Philadelphia. And I've wondered since I've lived in Pennsylvania most of my life now, um, why I could never just get on a train in Allentown and go to New York City or go to Philadelphia. I
Oh,
mean,
nothing stops in Allentown.
no, no,
Interesting.
no. So I
Wow. So
thought,
being in South Central Pennsylvania, right? I can catch Amtrak, right? I have to
yeah.
go to Philadelphia and then to New York, but still, that's
Now,
convenient.
wait a
And then
second. You have to go to Philadelphia, though, right?
that's why I said I have to go to Philadelphia and then to
Yeah,
New
but
York. But still, it's
why
three
can't you go?
hours.
Yeah, why can't you go from the capital? Can you get on a train in the capital and go to New York or Philly?
I can go, yes, at the capital and go to New York or to Philly
Oh, I see. You go for,
direct.
all right.
So go to Philly
Okay.
first and then it goes up.
So
So I have to
you don't,
get,
we don't have that option in Allentown. And I think
yeah.
Allentown's the third largest, isn't it? The third largest city? Yeah, I think it is.
I think you
Philly,
may be. Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Allentown.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's not
Okay.
including the illegal foreign nationals.
That's right. And you have a huge, huge population of
Oh,
illegals
yes.
in
See,
Lehigh County. Yeah. Yep.
it's muy malo is what it
Yes.
is.
Yep.
Um, the last thing about the budget, I don't think people realize. I always remind them near tax time about this. If you spent and managed your money like the government manages your tax dollars, you'd be in prison. We'd be in
Oh,
we'd be in prison if we had. I mean, just look at the national debt right now. Going to be $38 trillion. If you had like 30 credit cards and $1 million worth of debt, and you just were living large, that's what our governments do, and we allow
yeah.
it.
Yep. And so, and real quick, what we do, so we spend the budget that we spend, okay, 52 billion. That is just what's spent through, I say online. We have another about $50 billion we spend offline, Ken,
What?
and all. Yeah.
Wait a
So,
minute. Another 50. That's
billion.
not
So
like money in the couch. What's happening there?
that's taking money. So some of those things make sense. Your pension funds, right? You would keep
Right.
those in special funds, but then and your motor license fund, that's a separate fund. And then there's 186 of these special funds. Some of it is federal dollars that flow through
Got it.
these funds, but a lot of it's state dollars or fees or appropriations or settlements. And here's what they do. So they're created by statute, right? It says, okay, we're going to create, let's just say, the Environmental Stewardship Fund, right? And here's what that fund can do. And then we're like, oh, but wait, we really want to do this with the money. Oh, you can't do that. Okay, so we're going to take the money from the Environmental Stewardship Fund, give it to the Oil and Gas Lease Fund, and then we can spend it here. And then all right. And I think that's called,
186 funds.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's why and now you know why a 21-minute newscast brought to you by Pfizer or whoever, that's you can't how can you possibly be an informed electorate like Thomas Jefferson said? We have to be an informed
Electorate.
voting
No,
public. Yeah. So
they
you
never
get
lapse. So they never lapse either. So that money accrues, they
they just
gain
keeps
interest in it, and we have
unbelievable.
no vote over it other than to say, let's abolish the fund. We have to do legislation to abolish the fund, but we don't vote on how they appropriate those dollars
Oh my
other than the
gosh.
initial authorizing legislation. So 186, I went through all of these in 17 and
I remember
many of them,
you
yeah,
you
many
were
have
posting a
savings.
lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Many have savings accounts. And
Wow.
so again, there's little accountability that's there. But when you take from one fund to give to another fund so you can put, dole the money out the way you want, I think people went to jail for that in the private sector. I'm
Oh, very
pretty
much
sure of it,
so.
right? Or you
Very
try to
much so.
hide something under something else. I mean, it's seedy at best. And I said that's the one budget increase that I would vote yes on, would be to take all those funds, except for your pension funds, right? That shouldn't be mingled in with your
Right. Right.
right, your general appropriation, but and put those back online. So you make a vote on those appropriations, and then you stand at the ballot box and you get to hold your elected official accountable.
And that's what you mean by online. You don't mean literally internet online. You mean
No, I mean bringing them
in the
back into the
process.
general. Let's bring them back into the general fund,
Hmm.
right? Back into the general fund that we vote on every single year. And one last thing that people will be shocked by. So
Hmm.
we make appropriations to hire to five universities that are not state owned: Pitt, Penn State, Temple, Lincoln, and University of Pennsylvania. So they
Okay.
get state appropriations, even though they're privately owned schools. Okay. In order for them to get a state appropriation, our Constitution requires a two-thirds vote of the General Assembly. And so this is a tough, hurdle to get over. And it's been held hostage many times because usually Freedom Caucus has held it up,
Hmm.
and other groups have, and rank and files have been able to weigh in on this. So last year they created an accountability measure, right? We're going to make these five be accountable. I don't want them accountable. I want to take the money that we put there, that we give to just these five, and let's
Hmm.
just drive it out to any Pennsylvania student that wants to go to higher education, whether it's a career in tech school, a college, whatever it is, right? Whatever that stipend is. So let's just say you have 100 students apply, and right, you have $1,000, and you give them each a hundred bucks, and you can go to any state accredited school you want to. That's the fair way to do it. Nope, nope, nope. We created an accountability board and created a grant program.
Ooh, a
And
grant
so,
program.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're going to take the additional money, any new increases to these five schools, and then these five schools have to do a dog and pony show to show that they qualify. That way, they can circumvent this two-thirds vote because it's going to
Wow.
be driven out through a grant program. We can appropriate money for a grant program, and they're looking to give that grant program $60 million this year. So an increase to the private higher ed,
Hmm.
even though they've all seen decline enrollments, they've
Yep.
seen closures in campuses. The state taxpayer should not be forced to pick up this tab.
Couldn't agree with you more. And that's just, again, that's buying votes from academia. And that's a long time,
Yeah,
that's a habit of the Democrats.
yeah, yep. So I say, fund the students. Go back, dole the money out. If the taxpayers say, yeah, this is how we would like to spend our tax dollars, fine. Drive it
Right.
out on per Pennsylvania pupil,
Yes.
right? You have to be a Pennsylvania pupil going to a Pennsylvania school. And if we want to keep them here, then you know what? You take this money, you give us a 5-year commitment to stay in this Commonwealth after you graduate.
Very good idea. Pennsylvania State Senator Dawn Keefer. I want to have you back on, Senator,
Yeah.
because there's so much knowledge. I mean, the minutia of government and how the government has taken our money is amazing. So anyway, keep up the great work on the Freedom Caucus, and thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks, Ken.